So that's next. We'd like to move on the discussion. So based on this presentation and the comments, what would be the way forward of EMAK? And the second point is what would be the future direction of possible cooperation with Japan? So maybe I think time is not enough. We can start the discussion, not only among the panelists, but also I'd like to also open up this discussion to the floor, also including some question and answer to the panelists at the same time. So do you have some opinion and comments, especially for what would be the way forward? What shall we do, especially to promote energy efficiency by improving or by establishing the good energy management system or better energy conservation measures?
May I?
Yes.
Before discussion, I'd like to ask all of you to valuable input because as I said, I have to report to the IPEAK next meeting. So your valuable comment is very helpful for me. Thank you.
How about panelists and the participants? Yes, please.
So my name is Fabiano. I'm from Mitsubishi Electric, General Manager of Industrial Automation. Mitsubishi Electric has several references around the world about efficiency. But what we have missing or encountering here in Brazil, it's a mindset that Miyashita-san told. Sometimes we achieve small and medium companies mainly, and they don't have the mindset for efficiency. They just want to produce. That's the first one. So second point, mainly the discussions with the project, because some efficiency project starts in a project or some mindset where somebody, as General Motors told. Even for the engineers and technicians inside of Brazil, I guess it's missing some part of knowledge meant to be like a specialist of energy efficiency. So if you see the grade of students of engineering, just a small part of this engineering course has some grade about efficiency. Normally it's only base information about electric or electronic or automation. So of course SENAI has one of courses that we are having a good partnership with them. But this is an example that even inside of private and state engineering and technicians, we need more push about this energy efficiency. To, of course, form professionals that can help. Somebody told here that in the near future is going to miss professionals that can handle this kind of efficiency project. So this is one point. Second point that Daikin colleague told, it's about the regulation. A good part of a mindset start from the government with a good regulation. So even for our system and products, when we talk in the market, we miss this regulation to just follow. So every competitor or every manufacturer handle the energy efficiency by doing way ourselves or the others. So this regulation would give a mindset to follow. That's another point. And a third point that I told here in this questionnaire that somebody told, it's about the credit and the financial institution that can help the project with like a credit program. So when we go, or when these small and medium companies or owners goes to the market that they want to do an efficient project, it's missing credit. So this is another point that is important that could, of course, help a lot the energy efficiency in the country. That's my opinion.
Thank you very much. You also point out important view. And actually, mindset and education training is a part of the energy management also. And regarding the financing, actually, consideration of some of the strategy to implement the energy conservation measures will create also some profits to change to some investment, something like that. As you see, the Toyota and Panasonic was a very small company. They started business with a small company. Now they became big companies. But actually, they expand business step by step, considering such kind of activities. Yeah. So I think this is a strategic approach is considered in the energy management system at the same time. Thank you very much for your comment.
Yoshida-san, you didn't invite bankers today?
Unfortunately, no, sorry about that. And actually, awareness improvement of the financial, by including financial, including a banker, is also a very important factor. So, as mentioned by some panelists, it's very important to let the bankers and the financial know the benefits of the energy conservation. So that's the reason why we need to create the more best practices, best practice energy conservation projects and energy conservation measures. So that these persons recognize some of the benefits of the investment in the energy conservation. So maybe I think this financing is maybe considered some of the areas. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I think that we should consider this idea of finding real solutions as a system to address the issues that the issues about energy conservation and energy efficiency in Latin America in general. For instance, it's not about designing the financial mechanism, a single line with the cost of money, but it's a system to find the financial solution to promote it. Because it's not about the cost of money, the design of the credit, but the warranty as well. If you think about SMEs, they don't have the warranty the banks will need or the banks will require, for instance. Yeah, the collaterals, exactly. And so I think that we should consider this idea of thinking about a system of energy efficiency in the country. And this would be, this could be a life-changing experience in this area.
Thank you very much. Actually, the financial approach sometimes depend upon the some market conditions and some price of the energy, something like that. And however, in the effort by the individual companies for energy conservation, I think in the energy management, it's also a bit more important to find out good strategical approach to identify energy conservation measures and to implement these measures step by step, creating the profit little by little. So that finally we could gain the bigger benefits. And of course, I hope that some of the bankers and the financiers could understand this approach, and so that they can also understand the importance of this kind of approach and the benefits of the investment in energy conservation. So I think that it is another good idea to have opportunities to discuss with sometimes people from the financial areas sometimes. Okay. Yes, Mr. Mari.
I think it's important to consider that not only every outcome or result in energy management systems comes with investment. Actually, in our case, almost 90% of the results were given by the improvement in operations and also behavioral changes. So I think it's important to also have available tools to identify these kind of measures, and these come out of energy audits, which don't have a direct return on investment. They come with a list of projects you can do. Some of them are not recurring investments. And also the implementations itself of energy management systems. I think in your case in Brazil, you mentioned that small and medium-sized companies are most of the spectrum of companies in this market. So I think for them, implementing a system is also sometimes a financial burden. And this doesn't come with a direct or clear return on investment. So I think if you will find a mechanism that could support this implementation, it will also be a driver for increased implementation of the ISO standard.
Thank you very much. It's a good approach. Yeah. And do you have any other comments and opinions and suggestions, especially focus on the way forward for energy management system? And also, you may have some suggestion and opinion on the some cooperation with Japan.
I have one question.
Yes.
I have one question or comment to this program itself. I always ask myself, what is the next? And this is my first time to attend this EMAK conference, but normally, what could be the follow-up of this type of discussion? Yes, it is important to have a good discussion, but I always ask next. What is next? What type of follow-up we can expect? We can participate.
Thank you very much. A follow-up is very important. Maybe Koyama-san, you can answer.
No, it's okay. And as I said, I will report the IPEAK meeting, executive committee meeting, the outcome of this workshop. And also that executive committee meeting shared the old member of the IPEAK, not same but nearly the 20 members, and that we can share our outcome these countries, and also we can follow up. I'm not so sure when I have to consult with him, and when we can have a follow-up meeting or something like that. But anyway, we will publish something, the outcome under the IPEAK name. And of course, every time Japan led the EMAK, because Japan led the EMAK activities, so every time we can receive your view and anything, your proposal for the future activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to say that very fortunately, in Brazil, we have a cooperation project with Japan. And actually, this workshop is a part of the follow-up of our cooperation project. So this workshop actually work to disseminate our outcomes to the participating companies, participating organization. So actually, our cooperation is just bilateral. However, outcome of the bilateral could be shared, this kind of international activities. So this is this workshop itself is a kind of the procedure to follow up what we did in the Brazil or in the Latin America, something like that. And So that's so for the next, maybe this discussion will be continued. Yeah, especially focusing on some of the Japan-Brazil cooperation, something like that. Also, the IPEAK, as I mentioned by Mr. Koyama, in IPEAK, they have another program focusing on the so the awareness improvement. Yeah, this is one of the related program to follow up this EMAK program, I think. Yeah. Yes, please.
Okay, maybe I'm speaking a lot. Well, just a point that I think it's very clear for us at the Ministry of Industry, talking about the future direction of possible cooperation with Japan. This possible cooperation should target the real needs of the Brazilian industry, of course. And this we'll have the opportunity and the chance to discuss more in details tomorrow. In our meeting, but it's very clear for us that the cooperation must serve a purpose, and this purpose and what made the last cooperation a great success for us, it was the part that dealt with the industrial sector and in the companies, the participating companies. It was very positive in our opinions. And this is one main idea that I'd like to share with all of you. And there is one of the main ideas that we at the ministry have to discuss tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah.
For the next step, next actions, for example, my suggestion would be that this time, for so far, we have worked for the bigger company for the cooperation program. But now we discussed that more importantly, the mid-size, smaller size companies require such energy conservation program. If it is the case, why not? We will do this type of conference targeting at mid-size, smaller size companies. Yeah, probably we can participate again, doing the same presentation. The target is different, smaller companies, mid-size company. That could be a practical next step, which we can consider, I suppose. And noblesse oblige, that is our responsibility, I suppose.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miyashita, for your good suggestions. From the floor, do you have any suggestions and some comments for the future?
Can I comment?
Yes, please, of course.
We have been in this first program of the cooperation and thinking of what the industry needs or wants to have maybe on a second phase that I know it's under discussion, but some suggestions. One of them is awareness that I think most of us touched on the subject. Educational programs, communication programs that could be done by Procel, for example, which is a very good tool. This is one thing that could be in the second phase. Another one is a way to incentivize industry to go for energy conservation. And when I say incentivize, it's maybe a recognition. This is something we will have to discuss, or mechanisms to provide, competitivity to those industries. When you invest in energy efficiency, which competitivity advantage can you have by doing so and making more of the community aware of it? So this may be on the second phase. And also knowledge transfer, educational projects, with universities and maybe using the industry. We already talk about this, and we are present in seminars and workshops like this and disseminating this information to smaller companies. We can help with that. So maybe this could be in the second phase.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gracia, for your good recommendations and probably the good future cooperations for the next step. It is, I think, also good suggestion. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I agree with the idea of promoting the energy efficiency and conservation measures to the small and medium-sized companies. I think it's the obvious second step. And within that segment, I think refrigeration is where you should focus on. So supermarkets, warehouse refrigerator warehouses, convenience stores, establishments that have refrigeration, not necessarily air conditioning, but refrigeration. I can't tell you a name of a company that we are actually working on. It's the waste on the refrigeration side is amazing. It's with little investment, you could save a lot of money. With a lot of investment, you could save an absurd amount of money. And they don't have the understanding of that. So the education piece and examples that shows the benefit, let's face it, the cost of money in Brazil is high. So you have to show them that they will benefit from that. And examples is the best way. Examples of other companies that did and did well with that effort. So I think medium-sized, small-sized companies, they have refrigeration as their main core of energy usage is a good target, and education, 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 and promoting what you guys are doing. I was invited to the event. I wasn't aware of the cooperation between Japan and Brazil at all. So education, promoting yourselves, I think it's a good thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your suggestions. Yes.
Mr. Yoshida, it's not exactly a comment, but I'm just thinking out loud.
Okay, please.
I'm just thinking out loud because I heard that he mentioned that, and it's funny for me to see the private sector asking for regulation. In general, it's the opposite. But on the other hand, I can see that Brazil has some peculiarities that differ from your culture. And one thing that I think it should be necessary for us, and it's crucial for the success of any cooperation, is to understand each other, the differences of our culture and your culture. I mean that because in terms of programs, like labeling program, it's not possible for us to do something that you did in Japan, for example, something that's compulsory, mandatory, but not exactly punishing. There is no punishment for those who doesn't achieve, for example, the minimum level of something. In this case, energy efficiency. In our culture, it's out of question. It doesn't work. For example, when we design a program like labeling program as voluntary program, we know that there are going to be a lot of people, a lot of companies that simply don't give at all. It doesn't matter for them. But we have to accept that. Because if you impose those actions, they will never take part in the program, and as a consequence, we don't reach the minimum of companies understanding the idea of energy efficiency and etc. So I think it's a good point to be considered in this cooperation, in any cooperation, to understand the culture of each other.
Thank you very much. I also agree to this point, and we have to consider difference in the culture and the way of doing. And however, probably considering this gap and the differences, we need to sometimes create idea how to localize this best practices realized in the foreign countries in Brazil. So this is an important point of the cooperation, I think. Yeah. Thank you very much for your valuable comments. And I think that we had good comments and also the suggestions. So I have to summary and wrap up this discussion. And I think this is a kind of a difficult job. But actually, all participants, all the presenters and participants provide good viewpoints and good comments for the future EMAK, related to the future EMAK and cooperation with Japan, I think.